Hey, and welcome to the championship match of late TV fights. It's taken a really long tournament to get here, but we're here. I've got a great set of judges with me. My co-commissioner, Alec. How are you feeling about this match, and who do you think will win?
Oh, man, I am excited. I've taken a little hiatus, so I figured what better match to come back for than for the championship match. So I'm really excited.
And also here is Wyan Payne. Wyan, how are you feeling?
Well, feeling pretty well. I'm actually excited. Feels like a very long time since I saw the last late TV fight. So this is going to be awesome to see how this turns out.
Yeah, and this is going to be a great match because it's a matchup everyone has been wanting to happen, and it is finally happening. I don't know if anyone expected it will be in TV, but here it is. We've got Cody versus Jay Burnz. Going to bring in our competitors now. I'm going to bring in Cody first. Cody, you're the master debater in so much. How are you feeling about this match?
Yeah, I wasn't even supposed to be in this tournament, and then you asked me. You said, "Hey, I had to drop out. Do you want in?" And I can't turn down a debate for anything. So now I have a chance to get my second belt in debate. So that's going to be my third debate, and it will be TV, music, and movies. So I got the trifecta. Suck on that, Brooklyn Vale. But it's really fun because Jay is one of the people that I've respected from the very beginning in debate, because I had to judge one of his first debates, and I know his potential, and I know how he can twist somebody into playing their best game, and I'm so ready to play Jay. I didn't think it would happen on TV, but it's happening on TV. It should be fun, but I'm still hoping to win.
And now we're going to bring in your opponent. Jay, how are you feeling about this match?
Well, I have been chugging a nonstop mixture of Monster, Cuervo, and now beer in preparations of fighting this man over here. That's the direction he's in. No, I'm actually really excited for this. This is not the exactly which way. This is not exactly the realm in which I thought that we would be facing off. Because personally, I don't own cable. I watch everything on the internet. So yeah, I don't know how I got this far in the first place, but apparently I make words good. So I just can't see. I can't wait to see what happens. That's really what it comes right down to. Cody is a phenomenal debater. We definitely don't have similar styles, so I want to see how well my unorthodox style works against everything that this man puts forward with his not so like straight up style. But yeah, this is going to be fun as hell.
Yep, it's going to be definitely fun. And that's definitely the thing with debating is you got to make words good. But so because it's a championship round, it's going to be 5 prepared questions. We're not going to do a speed run, and it's like same first to 3 rules apply. So yeah, and the first question is: which Schmoedown star should have their own TV show? And I'm going to go to Cody first. Cody, you've got 90 seconds on the clock, and time begins when you start talking.
So Schmoedown Competitor is a very interesting topic, and you said TV shows, so basically can be anything, but I'm going to keep it in real life because that's what I assume will be the thing, because if not, one already kind of has a show. I'm going with Bibbs. I'm going with Bibiani because there's probably not a more lovable, goofy guy in the Schmoedown, and that doesn't actually play a character. That's actually who he is. That's who he is as a person. And I think how he goes through life and see how he gets excited over the littlest things and gets upset over the littlest things would be a funny show. You'd have different characters coming in because, of course, he's a part of the Schmoedown. So we'd see different people show up at his house or around in movie reviews, stuff like that. His day-to-day operations. Like there's moments where he misses, like he almost didn't make it to a Schmoedown event because he didn't have anything to eat. He needed a coffee, blah, blah, blah. He was a frantic mess. Those are fun things. Planning entrances. It could be centered around the Schmoedown, but also fun. Bibiani would be the perfect person because he's that lovable goof that everybody likes, and you would enjoy seeing him every week.
We'll see. We'll see how the bold move of finishing early pays off. As we go into Jay. Jay, you got 90 seconds on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
I'm a firm believer in trial and error, and I believe that my client is on trial, and it's an error. That is a quote from the one, the great, the magnanimous Bobby Finstock, Bobby Gucci. He is the individual, I believe, Tom Dagnino is the individual, I believe, who should have his own TV show as an already prepared and set up Schmoedown competitor, because not only can you get that funny side, you get that real life side. My opponent has said something about, characters being real. If there's a real person behind a character, it's literally just Tom Dagnino as Bob Finstock, Tommy Gucci, Bobby Gucci, whatever the hell you want to call him. I believe that would be the funniest show that puts somebody in the criminal element and kind of just mixes everything up. You get a little taste of everything when it comes to an individual like Finstock. So Tom Dagnino is my choice for a Schmoedown competitor to have his own TV show.
We've got two great openings there, but now we go into the main round of 5 minutes. I realised I didn't explain the timings at the start, but everyone knows how it works. You've watched these before, so but yeah. So 5 minutes is on the clock, and time begins whenever someone starts talking.
Yeah, so I have a real problem with Bobby Gucci Finstock. Hey, Jay, have you ever seen the Jersey Shore? Yeah, that's another character ripoff that we'd have to see week after week play by himself. He is not that person in real life. And regardless if that's what you want to see, I don't want to play him as a one-off every week. He's mellow in real life. He puts on that face for the camera, and he only says those shock thing values every once in a while. But day to day, every week, it will get repetitive. It will get boring. You can only hear him say Gucci-san. And if you notice about him, he literally says only like 6 sentences every time he talks. So carrying on an entire 30-minute episode, rough. An hour, miserable. It wouldn't work.
Okay, so here's my thing though. You want to sit here and talk about how like the Jersey Shore is this tough, ouchy, repetitive thing along with Bobby Gucci, but it was still one of the highest rated shows of all time that people watched. It was one of the most watched shows of all time. You can make the face all you want. It had 1.5 billion seasons and everybody enjoyed the shit out of it. I wasn't personally one of them, but people enjoyed it to the point where it continuously got renewed. And yeah, you want to sit here and talk about the same stuff being repeated over and over again. I love Bibbs. Bibbs is one of my favorite personalities in any league whatsoever, but I can only hear him talk about the same movies over and over and over again before it gets repetitive. At least with Bobby Gucci, he'd try to make up a story about the movie, which would be entertaining. And I would get quips like Gucci-san, but I would also get, stuff like, it's better to cry in a Bugatti than it is,
Yeah. My only viewpoint is where you're saying Jersey Shore made a lot. Yes. The general public, maybe would have liked that. 100%. No problem with it. But that's with a group of characters based on the same premise. You're including one character to go around doing shock value. That's my only viewpoint that I think is struggling with Bobby Gucci. Bibbs, it's his TV show, so Bibbs can do anything. Bibbs can do his own Pee-wee Playhouse version. It would be a perfect spinoff to have him in there and to have that goofy stuff. He doesn't get the outlet like all the other Schmoedown competitors do to talk about the stuff that he actually loves. The short time that we get to see him on the Schmoedown and critically acclaimed, that's it. I want to see a one-man show that kind of has rolling parts, but you actually get to see him every day. Bobby Gucci is literally, he doesn't have enough brain cells, I think, to actually form. And we have little Bobby in the juice, and that's his alter ego built into a character in puppets. I don't need to see him actually in another show.
Okay, but that's not the case, because you have the Two Shot, you have Only the Best, you have, critically acclaimed, you have all these other outlets for Bibbs, whereas you don't really have an outlet for somebody like Bobby Gucci. If you brought him into a TV show Like, you gave him his own TV show. He is one of those more mysterious forces that works behind the scene that you don't really get to see talk a lot. He doesn't come on to like Collider Live. He doesn't do a lot of this or that with everybody else. He does once or twice. Like I said, he doesn't really, but that's my thing about it. But you don't really get to see him, so you could build a mysterious TV show around, or a TV show around this mysterious individual that shines a little bit more light on him. Whereas Bibbs does have an outlet. Bibbs is a creative consultant for everybody's entrances, or at least he wants to be.
Right.
There's
a difference. There's a difference. You're saying you're 100% right. He's not included in Collider Live every time, and he's not included in Schmoedown every time. That's the funny thing about it. Even Harloff himself knows that. Dagnito in small bits is the perfect recipe for Dagnito. If you overuse him, he dries out and he gets annoying for people. But if you give him those small, funny quips every once in a while, bring him on a live event every once in a while, bring him on a Collider Live, make it one of the most talked about segments, push him off for a couple months and bring him back. So he's a great guest spot in TV shows. He's not a good stand and run his own show.
See, that's just it. I don't think people are giving him enough credit. I think that people are underplaying him, especially with all of the stories that everybody seems to have with Tom Dagnino, where he is this person where he can get you into the GQ party, where he can just literally talk anybody's ear off, smooth and suave, like not Nico Suave Regoli. Don't give him a job, I swear to God. But the thing about it is yeah, you get all these stories, but you can actually see these stories being built around this character. Whereas with Bibbs, you get to see him interact with Whitney a whole lot more.
But that's not what I'm saying. I don't want just Whitney. I want a revolving part. I want to see his life. I want it in more of a reality base because he's a character. You're right. He talks about movies, but I want to see him in the day-to-day life operations of Bibbiani. He's a lovable goof that loves movies and loves being around people and like showing. He's like, I get to play movie trivia. It's one of those things that you want to see him actually in real life. Dagnito gets his own outlet in that show. So in Little Bobby and the Juice, that's his inner monologue. You get to see those stories played out. I want to see Bibbiani, and maybe Dagnino can be a guest spot on my show.
There was definitely a heated or mildly warm debate there. But we're now going to the closings. Because Cody went first in the openings, Jay, you go first in the closings. Got 1 minute on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
See, here's the thing. You get a lot of this warm, fuzzy, cuddly from multiple people in the Schmoedown. What you don't get is that mysterious where the character and the person who portrays them actually intersect a whole lot. And that's what I would want to see. I would want to see that blend between the real person and the legend that is, Bobby Finstock, more than I want to see Bibbs kind of say something about a table and horse people and, be the happy, bubbly person that he is. I like Bibbs. I just don't think that he's the perfect person to have a TV show based around him. I think, even with the YouTube show, I think if you could broaden and expand that with the way that people are actually eating that up, it would be a better thing than just having somebody like William Bibbiani who sits here and likes to talk about movies. Yes, you can watch Tom Dagnino do his Rocky movies. You can watch him make quips. Yeah, you can say that it gets.
Cody, 1 minute is on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
Jay talks about the mystery of Tom Dagnino, but he literally gives away all those secrets every time he opens his mouth. He literally says, I was in China last week, and let me tell you about the girl I banged. Cool. Funny story. Listen, Bibbiani has that you're talking about a few glimpses because he doesn't get the platform. Yes, he gets a movie platform. He doesn't get the world platform. And this is a very passionate guy that loves life. And I would love to see him interacting with people. As people that have talked to him like on shows, he's come on and actually geeked about stuff that's not movie related, just in general. And I would love to see him go out to lunch with people and just ham it up for an hour. It'd be a great time to have. Dagnino would get old and shtick. That's why Harloff doesn't put him on everything. That's why he doesn't get his own guest spot. That's why he doesn't get his own show, except this small thing about Little Bobby and the Juice. He's a great guest spot. He doesn't lead his own show. Bibbiani could lead his own show and could almost a variety show, have his own things like Pee-wee's Playhouse. These are fun things that Bibbiani could do for everybody, and it doesn't have to just be with him and Whitney. It's him.
Time. We've got two great arguments here. I'm going to go to Ryan first. Ryan, who are you going to give your point to and why?
Wow. Oh my God, being the icebreaker in this is going to be so hard. Going back and forth, I'm actually going to give my point to Jay here. Both these men did give a good idea of pitching a show within both their characters, but I like how Jay did say he wanted to, I think, use the concept of trial and error. Meaning, try to. I know the concept of trial and error is kind of misinterpreted in different ways. I mean, maybe in a way of kind of like trying to go things like off the fly, or sometimes, just recreating the show around it. But I like the idea of how Tom's persona, the stories around him. It seems to me more interesting. I would love to see a show about Biz, but Tom was more interesting in this moment.
But yeah, I'm going to go next on this. I'm actually going the other way. I'm going to give my point to Cody on this. I just like Ryan, I was going back and forth, but it wasn't until the closing in which Cody sort of mentioned that he would like to see Bibbs do a Pee-wee Playhouse style show, and it got me interested. Look, that would be perfect for him. And I mean, nothing against Jay. I think he did pitch his show idea adequately, but I think Cody managed to knock down a few of his points as well. So, Alec, it comes down to you. Who gets your point and why?
All right, it's tough, but I'm actually going to give my point to Jay. I think he, him implementing the popularity of the juice really kind of helps sway it. So I'm going to go with Jay on this one.
And with that, Jay strikes first blood. But there's still more questions. But the next question is, what is the most iconic TV show of the 80s? And because Cody went first in the openings last time, Jay, you're going to go first this time. You got 90 seconds on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
What's more iconic than the idyllic family situational comedy, especially in the 1980s when sitcoms were becoming a bigger and bigger thing? You want a family dynamic that doesn't really like portray this perfect family. You want a sitcom that kind of sheds a light on the ugly truth that is an actual family. That's why my choice is Married with Children for the most iconic TV show of the 1980s, because what it really comes down to is the fact that, yes, it is not the perfect family. They do have gripes, and you get to see all of these internal struggles within them, from Peggy, Bud, and the fucking kids and the dog. Yeah, Married with Children is my answer.
Okay, and now we go over to Cody for his opening. 90 seconds is on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
I want to go where everybody knows your name. I'm going with the most iconic, the one that answers the question the best, the one that encapsulates the 80s to the question, and that is Cheers. Cheers is by far, it's laid the groundwork for sitcoms moving forward. It showed how dated sitcoms were in the past. The overlining storylines that bounce from season to season, the characters that you shouldn't have worked that worked perfectly together, that balance each other out. This is a complex characters of stories that, again, it's a group of people that come to a bar at regular times, which was probably back then not seen of a great idea of a show. The show ran for 11 seasons. It started in the 80s and 82 and ran all the way into the 90s. It's a fantastic comedy show. Love loudmouth people in it, and it shows what a group of people that come from every different aspect of life can meet up in a bar and have a great time. And Cheers is that.
Now we go into the maid round. 5 minutes on the clock. Time will begin when someone starts talking.
I'll let you go first, Jay.
Oh, I mean, like the only thing that I'm thinking of as soon as I hear you say that it's this most quintessential thing and it's this show that like everything else is built off of. The one show I actually think of before Cheers is legitimately MASH, where they kind of took almost the exact same sort of situation with people in this one certain spot with multiple reoccurring characters and put them all in one place. And you get to know them over the course of 9 or 10 seasons. But they're rotating people. At least with like Married with Children, you don't get a lot of that. You still have people sitting here saying Al Bundy scored 4 touchdowns in a single football game at Polk High. He is the greatest running back of all time. We can fight about that later. Go ahead, Cody.
My problem is that if you want to say that, if you're talking about family dynamics, your show literally is didn't even pick the most iconic or best to tackle those areas. Full House came out the exact same year and went that time. Golden Girls also has those kooky neighbors that come over and has a grand old time. Different Strokes. Even, no offense, I won't say this as a thing, but if you want to encapsulate the 90s, you spent 3 years in the 80s and went straight 90s. So for that thing, Family Matters and Prince, Fresh Prince are better situational comedies of a family dynamic. My only viewpoint is Cheers literally laid the groundwork down there. Married with Children has that. Even Roseanne, regardless of political or whatever, Roseanne was a better loudmouth neighbor dynamic of a married family with kids, and they hated each other, and Al Bundy yelling at each other. It's just, there's a bunch of different things. There has not been another show like Cheers that has come out. You're saying MASH, but MASH is the army where you can't escape. These people chose to come to the bar and spend time. Sam Malone, Woody, all of them, Cliff, even the loudmouth waitress that comes up and gets in everybody's business and knows everybody's personal life. That's the beauty of the Cheers. It turns into Average Joe's turns into a family.
See, that's the thing. You brought up a lot of these other shows, and a lot of these other shows have like external conflicts, whereas a majority of what Married with Children is an internal conflict with at least one member of the family. I mean, you can shake your head all you want, but you have all of these other people interacting with outside influences that create these issues. What it really comes right down to. Okay, go ahead. The neighbors are the main antagonist of your entire show. They come over and piss off Al Bundy every chance he gets. He wants to get busy with his wife. Oh, here comes the uptight neighbors that are annoying Al Bundy. Like, he yells at people. He's the Red Foreman before Red Foreman. Al Bundy never wants to get busy with his wife.
Fair.
Let's be real. Like, let's be real. But at the exact same point in time, what I'm focusing on is the family dynamic of the situational comedy, and it comes right down to it that a majority of the time, what really brings that family together at the end of the day, whether they learn a lesson or not, is that they still have each other, even with all of the problems that they have. What do you have in Cheers? You have a couple of sloppy alcoholics who don't know what they're trying to do with their life. I'm sorry, you can say no all you want, but if you have 11 seasons of this show and everybody shows up 5 days a week and gets completely plastered, alcoholism, dog.
But that's the thing is they show up because you some people have friends that they go out to dinner with every week. This is the thing. They show up, they spend time with them, and then the inner conflict of falling in love with somebody that there's just your friend, and then you have that battle, and then it divides the friendship and brings them back. They're friends, but that's the central meeting spot. Yeah, but the Cheers bar. You're saying Married with Children. That's a family dynamic. Congratulations. You named every sitcom ever. Every family sitcom. Literally, Full House did it with less anger, pretty much. They did and it was a better show. It was a better show than Married with Children because it actually showed like wholehearted family dynamics. Yours was just loud Al Bundy getting mad and hating his wife. He needed to divorce his wife and move to Cabo because he couldn't stand her. Doesn't make a good show.
Here's the thing about that. What you're showing, what you're sitting here and saying about Full House is you're pitching the idyllic family. What you're getting with Married with Children is the actual family dynamic. That's really what you're getting here.
Full House is three uncles taking care of kids. Please do not tell me.
two uncles and a dad. But that's my point. What you're getting is a family that knows that maybe it's not the best to stick together, but are actually trying to fight it out. And what you have is a bunch of lonely drunks who end up showing up to a bar and deciding, hey, look, maybe because I can't find friends anywhere else, this is where I'm going to find them. I will
go watch Cheers because you ain't seen it. Go watch Cheers.
I know Norm.
Right, got 1 minute on the clock for the closing, and Cody, you're going to go first on the closing. What time begins when you start talking?
It's literally the best of the 80s, and my show literally shows what the 80s is and puts it together. It's a bunch of ragtag beat group of people that meet up at a bar, become friends, enjoy each other as part of their lives. They have inner turmoil. That's a classic comedy that had literally set the stage for the Friends and for Big Bang Theory and everything moving forward, because that's what Cheers did. Cheers was a fantastic building block on things, and it was able to run for 11 seasons and stay relevant and even send off a successful spinoff that I even talked about in Frasier. Like, that is something that you don't normally see that ran for another 10 seasons. It's an impressive thing, and everybody remembers that. If you talk about the 80s, if you look it up, if you do anything, the top pick is Cheers that shows up. Married with Children is just another family dynamic. The Home Improvements, the Fresh Prince, Different Stroke, Family Ties, all of these family dynamics that have inner turmoil, that they have to be angry with each other and come back. You can't say it's the most iconic when it's literally blueprint of everything else that's come. It doesn't stand above the rest. And if I say, hey, pick a movie, pick a family dynamic from the 80s, guess what they're going to say? They're going to say Time.
That's probably the perfect ending there. But Jay, you got a minute on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
See, here's the difference between Married with Children and Cheers. What do you have in Cheers? You have one singular spot. Nobody gets to see anybody interact with anybody outside of this one little bar for 11 seasons. For 4 seasons, that's an okay sort of thing. But at least with Married with Children, you get to see them interact with people on the outside. You get to see them interact with different people, but you still get to see the family dynamic. You want to sit here and talk about how this family is dysfunctional. Every family's dysfunctional, bro. Normally nothing but a cycle on a washing machine, and I would much rather watch a TV show about a family that is much more like my own, which I can project myself into and see a whole lot more of the aspect of a regular American family. Plus, we haven't even touched on the intro music. I'm sorry, I'd much rather listen to Frank Sinatra sing Married with Children than I'm sorry, what's it? Wings for Cheers? Yeah, no, I just gave Cody an aneurysm because I said something that he wasn't able to rebut to, and that's why I did it. No, Married with Children.
Fucking low blow. Okay.
There was definitely a great battle there. But yeah, I'm going to go first on this one. I'm going to give it to Cody, as I suddenly see 2 Alex down there, but yeah, I'm going to give it to Cody because he managed to bring up a lot of the good moments in Cheers and why it's so iconic, and managed to hit down Jay, and that it's like so many of those family sitcoms, and just it had the same sort of tropes. But Ryan, who are you going to go with on this?
I swear I wanted to take some good notes here, but their arguments kept going so furious. I just had to drop my notepad down. So from what I can recall, yeah, I'm going to have to go with you. I'm going to go with Cody. While Jay did give some good shots at Cheers, Cody just kept on attacking Jay's defense by not only saying that Married with Children, that the family dynamic, that there were shows that did it better and without less screaming, while Jay did do some countering that Married with Children did have a more of a focused structure compared to Cheers. Ultimately, the hits Cody just kept putting on Jay kind of took some points away in my mind.
Cody gets the point, but yeah, we've got going into this 1-1. The third question is, what is the best TV series finale? And also just for editing's sake, unfortunately, Alex Indet was choppy and had to drop out, but we got a replacement judge in Doug. And we're going to go to Cody first on this one. Cody, you got 90 seconds on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
I think the most amazing thing sometimes is TV shows that don't overstay their welcome and don't take cash grabs. And what I mean by that is I'm talking about the AMC drama Breaking Bad. When they created Breaking Bad, they had a beginning, a middle, and an end. They knew when it was going to end. They knew how they were going to end it, and they never went off that. The entire show interweaves from episode 1 to the final episode. You see back and forth, and you absolutely see the demise of who he is as a person, as Walter White. It ends in the most satisfying way possible. It needs no extra, nothing more. Nothing added. Apparently, they're doing a movie. I'm not arguing that on the case of this. I'm talking just at the end. It ends in the most perfect way. It ties every loose end of every storyline that they set up in the entire show. And it ends in a satisfying way. And that's what you want in a series finale. And that's the beauty thing of Breaking Bad. This man is a literal teacher and turns into the world's largest drug kingpin, and loses all sense of who he is, all sense of his family, all sense of everything, and nothing redeeming of this man. And they end it, and they tie those knots perfectly. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to spoil the shit out of it in the opening, in the next, so just get ready.
Right. Jay, you got 90 seconds on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
I really don't want to touch on anything my opponent said in my opening, but if we want to talk about one of the most satisfying endings, season finales of all time, series finales of all time, we have got to look at Avatar: The Last Airbender's Sozin's Comet 4-part. Yes, a 4-part, or whatever you want to call it. The thing about it is it does tie up all of these loose ends. You get character justification. You get everything it is that you want to see in a TV show be tied up in a nice little bow on top. And regardless of the show that came afterwards, if they had just ended it there, it would have been the perfect ending to a show, regardless of whether or not you want to talk about something like a Better Call Saul or a Breaking Bad movie. There, I said it. My entire issue with that is what you have in Avatar: The Last Airbender is the perfect breakdown of a small show not needing multiple seasons after like 3 to tell a complete story, and from start to end. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
All right. So we've got Avatar: The Last Airbender, but that's not directed by James Cameron, and we've got Breaking Bad. But we got two very different shows against each other. Let's find out what happens in the main round. 5 minutes is on the clock. Time begins when someone starts talking.
I don't think Avatar stayed around long enough. I honestly believe they could have went a little bit deeper. Yes, did they tie up the stories? 100%. But those characters were strong enough to carry on a few more seasons. I don't think they should have stayed longer than what they were. They did set up their ending, but it didn't stay around enough. Those characters there's a few characters in that show, because Nickelodeon was the shit back in the day, and Avatar was the best thing on Nickelodeon.
Who were those characters?
What? What are we talking about?
Characters. You just said.
Guess what? This isn't trivia. I don't got to answer your questions. I'm just saying at the end of the day, I think Aang is literally wishy-washy from season 1 to season 2, and they don't wrap him up as well as they could have in the show. He does not stay a consistent character throughout the entire series, and that shows him at the end. Breaking Bad, you can talk about Better Call Saul if you want. That's a great actually show of it. It shows how great it is that they took the lawyer from that show and made him his own show. That's fantastic to me. The overall characters have an interwoven storyline that shows the decline of a character. Mine does it in 5 seasons of shows the literally decline of a man that is the calmest, most meek person into the most sinister psychopath possible, and he ends with his death at the end of the show. He does not go out the hero. He doesn't go out anything. He doesn't get out one last escape. He goes out on his own terms, and he does it the way that he wants by setting Jesse Pinkman free, which he literally made him a captive his entire existence.
I kind of got to disagree with you there. You brought up the movie first, but that's the thing. If they're going to bring the movie in, obviously he didn't die. We're moving forward with this story.
No.
Well, when it comes
Jesse Pinkman's moving on. That's not Breaking Bad.
Bryan Cranston is still in the movie, so like we can go ahead and talk about that all we want. But you want to sit here and talk about Avatar didn't go on long enough? The kid only had to master 3 other elements, and guess what? He mastered 4 in the span of 3 seasons. He is the individual who brought.
Rushed.
It's not even rushed at all, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. Are we talking about the man who happens to be a science teacher who happened to engineer this magical machine gun in the trunk of his car to kill somebody? Or are we talking about a kid who is afraid of his own destiny, who grapples with the fact that he is afraid of that destiny and then still embraces that for the greater good, NWA TM, to become the Avatar, to fight the greatest threat that has ever been seen and come out on top?
Here's my view.
All of the trials and tribulations. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Here's my viewpoint. 3 seasons, 3 elements, and defeats everybody with the 3. And he does 4. I think that's a very rushed TV show. It's literally, and you're talking about it, Legend of Korra came out, and they're talking about running the thing back. So my only viewpoint, Bryan Cranston, you could say it, nothing's came out yet. We haven't seen it. We've seen the show that falls after yours. My only viewpoint is the man's a genius, and you're saying that doesn't want to take his destiny. He knows that there is no way out besides doing this. And then once he sees the escape route, if he can get out, he knows he doesn't want to, because he turns into a total different person. There is not a better character arc in the entire history of TV than Walter White. Walter White starts as a nerdy guy that couldn't hurt a fly, that gets punched in the mouth, and then is turned into Heisenberg, that you have to say his name. Yes, you manufactured the gun. I'm sorry, he is a science teacher. That's literally basic physics.
He's not. No, it's not. It's an engineering feat, and science.
Who cares? You don't think he can? You don't think it's?
We're basing that show on realism, and I'm sorry,
no, we're not, because no scientist here makes blue meth and sells it in Mexico and doesn't get stopped by the DA. This isn't reality. This is Breaking Bad, bitch.
Hold on. That's the thing, but that's why the purity of meth went up after this show aired. Correct? If we're not basing this on reality, if we're not basing,
that doesn't matter. Yes, they made meth, but that doesn't mean that social can be used.
But what I'm saying is, if we're gonna base it on he's a scientist and this is what he does, he made meth purer in the United States, which created a bigger issue than anything else. At least with Avatar, what you have is legitimately a story that can be wrapped up in one little box. You want to talk about seasons? We had 22 episodes per season. It's not rushed. Here's the thing. If they're all 22 minutes long, we could do the exact same thing and cut it down to 11, and it wouldn't feel rushed. People would say that it was a little bit too long, if anything. But when we break it down to 22-minute episodes, you get a story that is finite and compact. And yeah.
I don't know who's messaging in the chat, but you can't give just shut your mouth, whoever that is. My only viewpoint of that thing is there's literally you're saying 3 seasons. He masters 3 things, takes down the big baddie, and gets 4. That's a rush season. Regardless, 22 episodes. Mine was 16 episodes apiece and was able to master it and turn into a drug take out the entire drug cartel. If you're taking that's reality, it's not. The fact is,
we've come here for the closings, and Cody went first in the opening, so Jay, you go first on the closing. Got 1 minute on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
Look, what you're looking for in a TV show is a show that has a beginning, a middle, and an end with nothing left in it for the story that you are trying to tell. And that's what you get in Avatar: The Last Airbender. You get this 11-year-old kid. You get to see the progression of this individual. And if you want to talk about he's young and he's rushed, remember that he mastered airbending at the age of 11. He was one of the greatest benders of all time. You can't say that it's rushed for him to master the rest of them if that's his destiny. So yes, he meets his destiny. Whereas with Walter White, you want to say, no, it would kind of be the bitch way out if he figured out or disguised or designed a plan for him to get out of this, because this is the ending that you want to see. It's the ending that maybe everybody wanted to see, but we're still getting something with him as the main character. After that, I mean, shake your head all you want, we're still getting something with Walter White as a main character. After that, at least Aang becomes a tertiary character and not even really a plot point in Legend of Korra. But Avatar: The Last Airbender has the greatest season finale of all time, because Mark Hamill is one of the most menacing voices of all time, one of the most menacing villains of all time, and
Cody, you got 1 minute on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
We talked series finale. The question was series finale. He talked about the entire season most of the time and barely talked about what the episode actually entailed in itself. My only viewpoint is Walter White literally has terminal cancer and has dying. He is out. He's going to die. This next story is about Jesse Pinkman. That has nothing to do with this argument. Jesse Pinkman is set free at the end of this thing, which is the best thing about that episode. He literally ties up all his loose ends because he actually tormented Jesse Pinkman the entire season, the entire series, and now finally says, you know what, I'm letting you go. He kills all the people that is going to keep him hostage of making the meth until he's dead, till he makes it for complete. He takes them out and lets Jesse drive through the gate and runs free. Everybody that loves Breaking Bad is fine with it. No one needs anything else, but everybody needs a cash grab, and they're going to go get something because Jesse Pinkman can run his own story. I'm telling you right now, Breaking Bad, from the start of the character to the end, he shows how he takes out the lawyers, he takes out the FBI agents, he manufactures a gun to go up and kill everybody. That's a beautiful thing of how Walter White, and he does it under the phone call and then dies when the police shows up. It's science, bitch. Okay.
But there was definitely some battle. I'm going to go to Doug first on this. Doug, who are you going to give your point to and why?
Oh, sure. Start with the fellow chunky boy. All right. So it came down to what I was looking for, and the question is, what was the best series finale? Correct? That's the question.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with looking over the arguments, Jay hit a lot, but not really on the episode of why it was so important as that series finale. He did hit that it wrapped up some things and it tied up some loose ends, but I didn't really get a connection to why, what about the episode was so important. He started to get into it towards the end of his argument, towards the closing. Cody just kept hitting over and over why this episode was so important. The closing out of Jesse Pinkman, basically, Walter White taking that full-fledged into darkness and ended up dying. This round, my point would go to Cody.
All right. I'm going to go to Ryan.
Thanks, guys.
Ryan, who are you going to give your point to and why?
That phone's too bright. It was supposed to say ties up loose ends, and I kept hearing that from the competitors every time throughout this round, and I get it. The finale is meant to tie up loose ends. I wanted to hear more details, and my point is going to go to Cody because he ends up bringing more details into it, especially when it comes to Walt's arc. I would have appreciated to hear more on Jay's end on what characters ends they tie. They did bring up Aang for a second, but there's also more completed arcs on Avatar than there was on Breaking Bad. But on this point here, Cody took the time to focus more on the details.
And with that, Cody is going to get the point on this one. And this is a must-hit for Jay because if Cody wins this, he will be the champion. So the question is, what is the most iconic game show? And I'm going to go to Jay first for the opening. You got 9 seconds on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
Cody Newberry, come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right, baby. The Price is Right is the best TV game show because it supplies everybody with entertainment, and it's not a game of knowledge. It's a game of luck. It's not a game of skill. It is a game of luck where anybody can be the big winner. You don't have to know everything. You just have to outsmart one person. Whereas when it comes down to any other game show. It really comes down to what do you know about a certain topic. At least with this, you can throw out a number, kind of like movie release dates, and maybe be wrong or maybe be right. But guess what? If you get it wrong, you still have a chance to win. Whereas with any other game show, you really don't get that. Yeah, The Price is Right is my answer.
But that's the patent move of finishing early. Cody, they've got 9 seconds on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
My choice is a trivia-based show. It is the most iconic. It's not the easiest to play. No, it's not family-friendly for all. You have to be good. You have to be good at throwing out numbers. No, this is Jeopardy. Jeopardy is literally Alex Trebek. Literally has run that show, and it is for everybody. That's the beautiful thing about Jeopardy. They have College Week. They have Teen Week. They have Teacher Week. They have so many different weeks that people are allowed to come on, celebrity weeks that they're come on to play. It's easier trivia for everybody to feel. And even some of the answers are not super hard. I've watched it for so many years. It's a lot of fun. Josh McCougal watches the show. Let me tell you, the wild man himself. I can name you 3 past champions of Jeopardy. I bet you can't name one thing from flipping besides Bob Barker and Drew Carey that had to trade over host. Ken Jennings, everybody was waiting for him to lose on that thing. They tuned in every week. James Holster, that just happened. Everybody tuned in. He bet ridiculous amounts to make the most money possible. It was such a fun thing to watch, and it's based on trivia in a group of fans that love trivia. Let me tell you, it's the most iconic. And let me tell you, Jay, The Price is Wrong, bitch.
But yeah, so we've got Jeopardy versus Price is Right, and you put 5 minutes on the main round, and time will begin when someone starts talking.
That's the whole thing about Jeopardy, bro. Is you have to have a certain skill set. It doesn't matter whether or not you have different levels of it. The thing about The Price is Right is you can have no skill set, go in and actually win the entire thing. With Jeopardy, if I don't know potpourri or Charles Dickens or potent potables, how am I going to be able to win that? Looking at it from just a layman's perspective, I have a better chance of enjoying being entertained by a show that I can actually win than I do by Jeopardy. And I could beat Josh McCougan in Jeopardy. I'm just saying.
Price is Right. That's really interesting. Guess what? No one's even around to watch Price is Right because it happens during the day. Mine's closest to prime time. They're able to put it on live because people actually like watching it. It doesn't matter. The question is not what's the most accessible one. It's the most iconic, the one that stood the test of time. And they've adapted over the years. Same host, different weeks, makes it family friendly for everybody to play and bring people in to base knowledge. I've watched Jeopardy and I've scored no points. I've watched Jeopardy and I could have won the show. There's different elements of the show. It's not all difficult, hard questions all the time. You just have to know, and it makes you better watching it. That's the whole thing. Your show actually has more controversy behind it, not iconic controversy, because they had to change the game up because people started memorizing the perfect prices for all the stuff. It's literally a special on Netflix right now called The Perfect Bid. That's your problem with the show. It's not a great show. They had to change the show. No one was allowed to play over again. That's the whole point of the show. You can't, if you win the show, you can't come back. You're done for the time. That's not a fun part of the game show. My people can keep coming back and winning money if you're good at it.
Your show had to change that as well. That's just it. It used to be you only were allowed to play until you got 5 consecutive wins, and then you weren't allowed back until the Tournament of Champions. If you want to talk about non-consecutive, if
mine made it better.
I don't think yours made it better. I think yours just allowed more people to participate.
5 is better than 1.
I don't know about all that. And I mean, that's just 5 is a larger number than 1. That doesn't necessarily make it a better show. But the thing about it is what is the more iconic game show? Yeah, you know what? Not everybody has a strict set 9 to 5 schedule. And guess what? Those people who don't start until noon can start their day off with something at 11 o'clock in the morning, like The Price is Right. If they want to just go ahead, take a little break, have a little bit of fun, guess the price of some shit, and maybe be able to win something outside of, I don't know, 45% of what Jeopardy takes away from them on their winnings itself. And they don't want to feel stupid because they're not watching, are you smarter than a fifth grader questions being popped up in Jeopardy?
Jay, listen, there's problems that happen all the time. Like, people don't realize once you spin that wheel and you brand new car, you got to pay property tax on that. Rules are not fair all the time, but let me tell you right now, Jeopardy at least puts you in your own proper to win. If you study enough, if you're good enough, just like the movie Trivia Schmoedown, if you study enough and you're good enough, you could be a champion. My whole viewpoint is the iconic is the thing. It stood the test of time, and you're right, not everybody has a 9 to 5, but networks put shows at the best chance to compete. And at the prime time when other things are happening, news programs and stuff, Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy. 1, 2 has always been happening. Price is Right is still at the back. Huh?
I'm sorry. There's no news show that's happening at 7:30 at night. There's no prime time show that's happening at 7:30. That's the show that premieres before the show on prime time.
I think you're in Pacific time, but in my time, 7 o'clock is prime time. Just to let you know.
8 p.m. starts prime time.
It doesn't matter. Closest to prime time. I'm saying mine is, yours is in the morning, next to Days of Our Lives and General Hospital. No one watches it right after Let's Make a Deal. Those are the better.
That's not true. That's 100%. Just it. If that's not true, if that was the case, then it wouldn't have been on for 35 plus years. That's what it comes down to. You want to talk about the most iconic show? Who knows anything more about the showcase than anything else? Your show, yeah. You want to talk about property taxes? Guess what? You won 5. You got a Corvette. Guess what you had to do? You had to pay property taxes on it. That used to
double down. Like, there's double Jeopardy. There's all those fun things about it. And the final question comes into wagering money. You're in charge of your own fate in that show. Yours is just a spin of the wheel and a guess of a number. That doesn't make it iconic. That doesn't make it better. I'm sorry.
That constitutes more luck than being like, do I know what picture almost got
show up on the right show? Show up on the right show.
But because Jay went first on the opening, Cody, you're going to go first on the closing. A minute is on the clock, and time begins when you start talking.
Literally, iconic. There are players that have come on the show that still stand the test of time, that you still remember the name. Kenny Jennings hasn't played in so long, and he's still one of those people. 74-game streak. He came on and won. Yes, it's not the most accessible. No, not every Joe Schmo can go on and play. But guess what? If you're a teacher, you can be on 1 week. If you're a high school student, you can be on 1 week. If you're a college student, you can be on 1 week. Jeopardy gives you the opportunity to come on and play less trivia, but be able to win and make more money. Plus, it puts you in the hands of wagering money at the end of the day. Nobody knows anything but Price is Right besides the games and Bob Barker. And after Bob Barker stepped down and Drew Carey, no one gives two shits about the show, because I'm sorry, Drew Carey is a terrible host compared to Bob Barker. He does the same stick. He even put the same hair on to try to trick people into liking it. It's a terrible bit. He ruined the show. They just had to pick the next guy. He lost. When you lose, this is a rule for all chubby guys. When you lose your weight and you become skinny, you become a dick. Just face facts. Drew Carey lost his weight, and that's who he is now. You're not as funny anymore. So my problem is Drew Carey. Price is Right is not iconic. Not iconic. It's not iconic.
Jay, we got 1 minute on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
See, here's the thing. You've done nothing but say that this show is accessible on certain weeks for everybody. At least with the Price is Right, it's accessible for anybody on any given week. You want to talk about the education level of a teacher, the education level of a student, a college student, or a regular Joe Schmo. Guess what you have when it comes to the Price is Right? You have a fair and balanced game that anybody who can do a quick Google search before the show, still, even with that, can make a mistake. At least with this, it's not purely trivia based. You can have just a little bit of base knowledge and still come out right. And I'm sorry, Alex Trebek has never appeared in a movie. Bob Barker has, and the Price is Right, bitch. No, I'm kidding. I hate to have to be that person to pull that one out. No, but the Price is Right is the more iconic game show because everybody remembers it. And guess what? One of the most iconic closing lines in all of TV is, remember, kids, don't forget to spay and neuter your pet. That
definitely got really interesting. I'm going to go first on this. And I'm going to be leaning slightly towards Cody on this. I think he managed to kind of get more facts about Jeopardy and kind of explain why it's more iconic. Jay, like he did a good job. I think he kind of got floundered on some points, and I think Cody managed to knock him down. But I'm not the only judge here. Doug, who should get the point?
First and foremost, Cody automatically loses for quoting funny guys, funny people. No, I'm just playing. No, it's a really good match. It comes down to, I guess, the dings, really, because they both kind of hit on why their show was really enjoyable, really entertaining for everybody. Cody kind of hit them a lot on and I was waiting for Jay to kind of rebuttal, only known for the games, only known for Bob Barker, only known for Drew Carey. It's only in a daytime, which means it's only accessible to certain people. There's more controversy about it. I was waiting for Jay to hit back a little bit more during the debate and during his closing, but I didn't hear much. I did take notes though, promise. But Cody got the point.
And your winner and late TV fights champion, Cody Newberry. I'll go to the winner first for the interviews. Cody, you managed to pull out the win here. How do you feel about getting another belt?
Yeah, it happened. I may, at the end of this year, have like 5 of these debate titles. That's what I'm going for. And then I may just retire to the sunset and be done with it and let everybody else play. I just like doing this. I enjoy debates. Win, lose, or draw, I'm always competitive and I want to win. But if I would have lost to Jay, I would have lost to a fantastic player. Jay's a lot of fun to just talk to in general. So hearing him talk about stuff he's passionate about, I know probably losing the Avatar port was probably the hardest thing for him because I know that is one of his favorite shows. But other than that, me and him have been doing this for long enough. We know when we're up and we know when we're down. And he even said at the beginning, at the end, again, I thought he did well in that last round. I think he did well in all the rounds. It just judges vote where they vote. So I guess I don't have to defend. I don't have to play in TV that much now. I just have to wait for another good challenger. So that's what I like. I like getting the title belt and then just having to sit back and wait for people to come find me. So it's great.
But yeah, that's a perfect segue because I have a title defense set up for you in December, and you'll be playing either Joe Harrison, Matt Kearns, or Jay Burnz again.
Bring me Jay. Joe doesn't belong here. Matt's a good opponent, but bring me Jay. Sorry, Joe, you ain't got it.
But basically how it's going to work is Joe's going to face Matt, and then the winner of that will face Jay, and then so you could end up with a rematch, at least one rematch and one new opponent or a new opponent. So whatever happens, it's going to be interesting. But let's get it hear from our unfortunate second place person. Jay, you managed to come up short in this, but how do you feel about how it went down?
I mean, what do you want me to say? I felt that I rebutted almost everything that Cody said, and the judges didn't think that happened. So yeah, it sucks. But Cody, December, I'll see you again. This isn't where I want to see you. This isn't where I think that you and me should actually be fighting. It should be in something like Nerdgasm, or it should be like something in movies where we're both on an equal footing. Great fucking arguments. You threw me off on a couple of them, and I went off on tangents. And 9 times out of 10, I find myself in that position, and I don't allow it to happen. You just performed it so well that I ended up straying. But yeah, no, Cody, yeah, this is yours for a little bit. I'll be back. Yeah, great match, dude.
Yeah, and don't beat yourself up, Jay, because you did actually do quite well. Like, so many people just get completely obliterated by Cody. You managed to fight. You managed to get a point from him. So, but who are you looking forward to face out of Joe or Matt Kearns?
Cody. I don't care about Joe, and I don't know Matt, so fuck both of those people. I'd much rather just play Cody again. Like, you might as well not even put both of them up. You might as well just be like, hey, in December, give it 2.5 months. We'll give you a little bit of prep time. You're going to go ahead and play Cody again. Joe likes to pick these really random ass fucking categories, kind of like myself, but he's not able to build a defense or like a cogent argument. And I've never heard Matt Kearns speak. So I literally don't care about either one of them. Cody, I'll see you in December, buddy.
Okay. Ryan, how do you feel about how the match went?
I'm gonna be honest. When I saw myself added to this, I was hoping this would be taken all the way to the speed round. But with the questions that was laid out here, my God, seriously. Oh, I was really I was hoping for some low blows with series finales, and I think I may have gotten that one. So this match did leave me satisfied with expectations.
But yeah. Doug, I know you weren't here for the whole thing, but how do you feel about the last 2 rounds?
The last 2 rounds were amazing. I think they were tight. It literally was anybody's game. So I would just say, Cody, be prepared for when Jay has more prep time, because I definitely think Jay's got the chance for the championship, without a doubt.
But yeah, both competitors played well, and yeah, it's definitely going to see who Cody faces. Will he be seeing Jay again? Who knows? But from Cody, from Jay, from Ryan, and from Doug, and from Alec, who got Thanos snapped away, from all of us here, see you next week, and hashtag Josh McCougar for Jeopardy.